At Dave Cooper Live, we connect the industry leaders in the architectural, engineering, and construction space with the people, the products, and the processes to help them build it better. Welcome, everyone, to Dave Cooper Live, where we bring you the people, the products, the process, and today, the policymakers who help us to all build it better. Hot off the recent Innovative Housing Showcase and educational sessions in Washington, D.C., where experts and innovators from across the country led dynamic discussions on improving access to healthy, safe, resilient, and affordable housing. Today, we welcome Solomon Greene, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy, Development, and Research at U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Today, we'll learn from this leading public policy influencer how HUD is addressing the most pressing housing and community development challenges here in America. But before we do all that, we got to give a big shout out to our supporting members and sponsors. So let's take a moment and we'll jump right in. Stream Modular, the only logistics company you need to transport your mods, pods, and panels. Our friends at Stream Modular are investing $50 million over the next 25 years to build the technology, solutions, and trailers needed to handle and transport the projects of today and meet the demands of tomorrow. Reach out to their team at streammodular.com to discuss your next project. CombiLift is the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, a leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. CombiLift helps companies of all sizes and from every industry maximize the capacity, safety, and efficiency of their warehouse and storage facilities. A big thank you to Paul Short and the team at CombiLift for helping us all to build it better. Visit them at combilift.com. Ready to scale up your offsite construction business? Introducing 4A Constructs, your solution to finding skilled labor for offsite manufacturing. Say goodbye to the headache of recruiting a skilled workforce with hand-selected certified tradesmen that are expertly trained and managed for offsite manufacturing, set crews, and finish crews, ensuring maximum productivity and safety. Unlock the future of skilled workforce development for all of your offsite construction needs. Visit them at 4aconstructs.com. All right, again, thank you to all of our supporting members and sponsors, and for all of you that supported us while we are at the Innovative Housing Showcase, along with ICC. I can't get it out. We got Solomon Greene coming on. Let's bring him on to the show. Solomon, how are you?
I'm great, Dave. Thanks for having me on. It was also great to meet you at the showcase here in Washington, D.C. last week.
You know what? Not only was it great, I mean, the attendance was through the roof. The technology and the speakers, I mean, we're at a whole nother level. And we're going to hop into all of that. And I got to hang out with Solomon Greene. Who gets to do that all the time? Not me. But with that said, Solomon, we ask everybody. We want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we'll have your mother on the show. And you've already told me that it would be the entire show before she finished up on what she would give on you. But you got a minute to do it. Go ahead. Give us your elevator pitch.
All right, great. Thanks, Dave. I mean it when I say my mom would take up the time. She's quite a woman, and shares my commitment to creating those healthy, safe, resilient, and affordable homes that you promised we'd be talking about. She's part of my story about why I do this work. I grew up, she primarily raised me as a single mom and was a registered nurse, but barely making ends meet. And we were on public assistance growing up, even when she was working full time. Trying to rent a house in upstate New York, Ulster County. Moved around quite a bit as a kid because renting is difficult. Prices would be too high. We didn't have enough money to make ends meet. Eventually, she was able to, with some help, get enough money together to put a down payment on a home that she still lives in. That really turned my life around. Being able to live in the same place for the rest of my childhood allowed me to focus on school and the education I needed. And so I tell that story because everybody has a story. Everybody has a home or an experience growing up in terms of what worked and what didn't for them. And I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunities that I had of living in that safe, stable, and affordable home later in life once we were able to obtain it. So it's been a driving passion for me and my career. Been doing this work pretty much my whole professional career, which I've been doing, started right out of college, working for local government on affordable housing, worked for an affordable housing developer, went back to grad school, studied affordable housing from the perspective of law and urban planning, taught for a while, worked in philanthropy, and I'm really delighted and honored to be able to be at the center of it all here at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and living my dream and working on the issues I care passionately about.
You know what? Your team, by the way, is amazing. I have to tell you. Looks like my monitor just went out there. Give me 1 second. So I have to tell you, honestly, how amazing your team is and everything that they did for us while we were there. And as I work through my camera issue here, I'll get back into it. I really wanted to run through the slideshow and have you talk to us a little bit about what it is HUD does and everything that you had going on at the Innovation Housing Showcase. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, great. Well, I love that HUD was here. I hope that pops up on the cycle again in the 3D printed foundation that you showed on the slide, because that's where we are. We are about creating healthy, safe, resilient, and affordable housing for all. But not only that, our mission also includes creating strong, sustainable, inclusive communities. That's the UD part of HUD, if you will. So we're about housing, but we're about so much more. Creating communities that are thriving and give everyone a chance to succeed, and increasingly focused on creating communities and housing that are resilient to climate change and increasing natural and man-made disasters, and really lean into our country's goals around energy efficiency and decarbonizing the building sector, which I know is something that you've had folks talk about on your show before. So we're doing it all. People generally don't think about federal agencies and innovation going hand in hand, but we know, and we've known since the start, how important innovation is to achieving our mission. And just as an example, that image you showed of the 3D printer or the 3D printed materials was from the Innovative Housing Showcase. It was brought it was a 3D printer that was brought to the showcase by our friends at the Maryland National Guard because they are also using 3D printing in their work. It's the very same printer that we're going to be bringing to Alaska later this summer. to look at using 3D printing technology to build affordable housing in extreme cold climate. So HUD is sponsoring that work. It was great at the showcase to see the printer in action, and see how it was actually being used by other parts of the federal government. And we know there are going to be even more applications of this technology.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, listen, there was toilets that flushed with no water there, right? I mean, there
Yes.
was everything. They called it the NASA toilet. And by the way, NASA was there as well. So, Solomon, tell us a little bit about what you think is probably the best part of this entire show. What are some of the lessons learned that maybe you didn't even know?
Yeah, so I mean, it's wild. As I said, I've been working on housing pretty much my entire career, but I find I always have more to learn. And the showcase is a great example of that. And I learned so much, both in the educational programming we had, which, by the way, is still available online if you missed it. I think we can drop the link in chat where we're continuing to show those amazing discussions we had. But I learned so much from the discussions, from walking around the mall with you, seeing some of the exhibits you see here on the screen. One of the lessons I learned is really how innovation is happening across all parts of the housing market, from ending homelessness to expanding home ownership. And that's the spectrum that we work in here at HUD as well. Every aspect of housing this country we work on. We believe everybody deserves a quality home with dignity that they can afford and in a neighborhood that's going to set them up and their children up for success. So we saw one of the exhibitors, just as example of this spectrum. Pallet provides dignified shelter for people experiencing homelessness in over 80 cities. They employ people who have experienced homelessness or incarceration, and they create these new rapid response shelter villages that really create a community feel that we've heard, and from the people who work there and from people working to end homelessness, how important community is, and we see that in homeless encampments. And so, as a shelter solution, trying to bring some of those values into the work they do and experience into the work they do is really impressive. And we take that all the way up to the HUD duplex home, which I'm sure is first HUD certified duplex manufactured home, which we exhibited on the mall. As people may know, HUD provides the HUD code, which is the only federal building code, national building code, and it allows scale and quality in the manufactured housing sector. We are in the process of updating our code to allow duplexes. So we all know manufactured homes as a great opportunity for wealth building, a great starter home. Now, you could also have a second home that's also produced under the HUD code that you could rent out to gain a little bit extra income, or you could have it for a elderly family member. It creates more options for people to build their wealth, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and with some of the new HUD code changes that are coming out, like you said, it's going to allow some of these more affordable multifamily duplex options, and they were well on display. I think they had one of the biggest sections at the event. I believe it was a Cavco and a Champion setup that
too. That's right.
That was there right at the center, right by the HUD tent, where all the staffers were hanging out and there to help everybody.
Exactly.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to share another lesson that I really learned, and we actually learned this. So we did something a little different this year. So the showcase, as you know, is in DC, and this is our 4th year doing it, and we get exhibitors coming from across the country. This year we had 43 exhibitors from 21 states. And so we also decided we should be going out into the communities that are innovating. So we did something over the course of the past year where HUD leaders went out into different communities, learned about innovation where it happens, on the ground, in community, not in labs, not in big federal buildings. And we brought some of those innovators back with us to DC. And one of the groups that we don't often think about as innovating as public housing authorities. Local public housing authorities are everywhere across this country. They provide some of the most affordable and deeply affordable housing for people who need it most. There's very low-income families, the seniors, often veterans, people with disabilities, hardworking families who just aren't making enough to compete on the private market. And we saw so much innovation happening among housing authorities. We brought the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority here to DC to talk about their work using modular construction to build scattered site affordable housing, that missing middle, those 2 to 4 to 6 unit buildings, taking advantage of that zoning reform that we all know about in Minneapolis, where they allowed you to build more densely on single family lots. And they're using modular technology. They're using HUD project-based vouchers, federal tax credits. So what we're seeing is when public housing authorities innovate, they're not just innovating on materials. They're using modular construction to help bring down the costs. They're also innovating when it comes to financing, and they're also taking advantage of those state and local regulatory innovations. So it's really exciting to kind of see how innovation is happening in the field and in community, and bring those perspectives here to DC. People were learning from each other in these conversations from examples like that.
Yeah, the conversation at the show was all about innovation, and it was about resiliency. And there was a whole lot of conversation, like you mentioned, about, the financing options that are out there to support this industry. Colorado's been a big supporter of offsite construction, but there's also been a lot of federal help in starting some new manufacturing out there as well. So resiliency is really what it's all about. And I will be the first to admit that government and innovation, I saw it with my own eyes, does exist. And I think that's super exciting. And people really need to understand that there are people working on our behalf very hard every day.
We're excited about that as well. And that is exactly the message of the showcase. So Dave, we need you to keep covering it, spreading the word. And we'll be back again next year, bringing new innovations to the National Mall. And we're not going to wait until then. We're going to share what we've learned. We'll make available, as I said, all of the programming online. And we're continuing to innovate here at HUD every day. One of the other things I learned about the showcase, which I thought was really interesting. So somebody said, one of the speakers said, standardization and predictability are the keys to unlocking and scaling innovation. And most of us think about standardization and innovation as being opposites of each other, right? Like, we're all the disruptors, right? We want to smash the systems so we can innovate. Well, it actually turns out, in order for innovation to happen and get to scale, you need that standardization and predictability. And a big issue, I'm going to take it, you mentioned the ICC, they're one of our co-presenters this year. We heard a lot around how, every state and locality that has different building codes, that they're adopting different parts of those modern model codes and standards, make it hard for innovation to get to scale, because you have to customize for every single building code to be compliant. It's one of the reasons why the HUD code is so valuable. It's the only national performance-based building code, and it's created that kind of uniformity in the manufactured housing sector. But you know what it's also done? It's created innovation in the manufactured housing center, right? Manufactured housing industry. And we saw that on display at the mall. So I think that was another big theme that I'm taking away with me, is the importance of actually creating the standardization, predictability as a foundation from which innovation can grow and thrive. And we heard that message loud and clear from the exhibitors and the speakers at the showcase.
Yeah, we definitely did. And you guys are focused on this in pretty much every state in this country, all the way up to even Alaska. Your team was telling me there's a project in Nome, Alaska. They said, Dave, you want to go up there and cover that? I said, I've never, as long as it's not wintertime, I'm in.
You're welcome to come join us. We're looking forward to that printer. I believe it's set to arrive in Alaska in July. So it's being built right now at Penn State University. Multi-sector partnerships. We've got a university, a city in a very cold and distant part of Alaska working together with HUD. And as I mentioned, the Department of Defense even has a role to play. They're helping us out here with this technology. So it takes all of us. But yep, that 3D printer that you saw in the mall is heading to Alaska, and we hope to be part of the affordable housing solutions there.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a real need, and I heard it quite a bit, for the perception that lenders have of offsite space and how they get more involved with supporting the offsite space industry. And it was kind of a common theme to talk about the lenders and the opportunities that are out there. But with HUD, you guys are working on that on a regular basis to bring the private sector together with the, all the builders out there, residential, single family developers.
That's right. And I think there's such a tremendous opportunity right here. We heard a lot about both changing the perception of innovators, particularly in the offsite space, but not exclusively. And the construction industry, that your show is the exception that proves the rule. The construction industry is notoriously slow to adopt new innovations. Some of that has to do with what we talked about before, building codes. A lot of it has to do with the hesitancy of lenders to really finance innovation. So we heard a lot about that. I can't not talk about all the resources that Biden-Harris administration is putting out on the streets now to address our climate goals, and that includes energy efficiency and climate resiliency in the building sector, and particularly the housing sector. So we heard a lot. We worked very closely with the Department of Energy this year. We had a whole panel discussion where they shared with us what they're doing and how that money can be used to expand not just the affordable housing supply, but also our sustainable and resilient housing supply. So for all of your viewers, I would recommend what we do at HUD. A lot of that money went to our federal partners through the IRA and other federal legislation, but we helped connect builders and community builders to those resources. We have a great website. I will try and drop it in the chat called Build for Our Future. And whoever you are, you're a local government, you're an affordable housing developer, you want to build. You want to build to those highest climate resilient and sustainable standards, and you want to build to the most energy efficient standards. So you're putting money back in your renter or future owners' pockets by bringing down those utility bills. We try and connect you with the resources that'll enable you to do that. And it's Build for the Future on HUD Exchange. I believe it's hudexchange.com. And a ton of great resources on there for you and your viewers to take a look at.
Yeah, there you go. We got a banner up in the show right now. Yep.
Amazing.
We'll also we'll put a write up in the link, and we got some more photos going. I know we're short on time here. You got another meeting, but two things quickly. Development policies. When we talk about development policies, can you talk about how this works in the U.S. and how your role influences this practice?
In terms of development policies,
correct. That's correct.
Yeah, so we're trying to do everything we can at HUD and across the federal government to close the housing supply gap. It's a huge issue, and people feel it everywhere. We know that it's the basic law of supply and demand. The reason why housing costs so much in this country and in so many communities across the country is we just aren't building enough. And so through the Biden-Harris administration's Housing Supply Action Plan, we have an ambitious goal of closing that gap in just 5 years. We're 2 years in. We're making tremendous progress. We see multifamily housing starts on the rise again. We see rents starting to cool off, which we're excited about, but we know we have so much more to do. And what I can say at what we're doing at HUD is we're trying to connect state and local governments and those builders, community builders, affordable housing providers to the resources that are available across the federal government. We're trying to make our programs more flexible. So let me just give you one example of that. My colleagues over the Federal Housing Administration, FHA loans, they made it easier for you to underwrite an ADU. So one of the big issues I used to write about, I'm a zoning guy, I'm a land use lawyer by training. And so I was writing about, 10 years ago about how we need to legalize ADUs. Well, you know what? Places have done it. They've legalized ADUs. Why aren't they getting built? Because there's still not the financing available. So what we did here at HUD and FHA is we allowed a borrower to underwrite the income, or a lender to underwrite the income from an ADU when originating a mortgage. So to unlock that capital. So that's one example, in addition to connecting people with resources from across the federal government, we're doing here at HUD to address the supply gap. There's so much more. We don't have time to do it all, but I would say connecting people, increasing flexibility where it's available. We'd love more resources to be able to continue to build more and build more affordably. We also know that our colleagues throughout the federal government, and particularly in DOE, are investing in R&D and new technologies. A lot of the technology you saw out exhibited on the mall was designed or developed within one of our national energy laboratories. And we saw, I think we had 4 of our national energy laboratories there. So we're investing in research and development. There's so much we're trying to do, but we know we need state and local partners. And that's another big theme of the showcase, hearing about how can we work more closely together with state and local governments so we're in lockstep to meet the nation's need for safe, quality, affordable housing.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we got about 2.5 minutes here. So one of the things that I think super important, and we don't have time for it today, but it's the HUD code, the IRC code. Feels like there is a need that we can expand on this conversation, and we'll save that for another time. And I hope that you do come on another time down the road. But I did have one surprise. One of the benefits of Dave Cooper Live is we bring awareness to people that normally don't see the sunshine, right? All these startups are out there. People are out there trying to do things. We got this awesome message here. I'm going to put it up on screen from John Puez. Says, give Dave a big thanks for us. A gentleman jumped on a plane to come see us in D.C. after seeing us on the video from yesterday. So that's Sunday. So that means we did our live show Saturday. This is the value of what we're doing, and it's when people do stuff like that, just because we never know unless somebody says something.
Yeah, I love that. That is such a great way to end. I hope I had a chance to meet that person. We heard about this all week long because we did get a little early coverage. We did a little extra outreach to let people from across the country know. So we did have people flying in last minute. It wasn't just the exhibitors and the speakers. It was the general public who came to the nation's capital because they wanted to connect with those exhibitors. They wanted to learn from those presenters. They wanted to meet us at HUD. And that is what this is all about. And thank you for doing the work you do to spread the word, not just when showcase season, but year round, Dave. And we look forward to continuing to working with you, and we'd be delighted to come back anytime.
Awesome. Solomon, thank you so much for joining us. Keep up all the good work, and please give the entire team at HUD, ICC, SBCA, give them all a high five from us. I'm going to let you run because you have another meeting, but hey, guess what? Check out this end card. I'm Dave Cooper. Solomon, thank you very much, and thanks for watching. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you, and as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.